Alone, his blind date has just left and disappointment is clear on his face. A waitress, a single mom, walks by and notices him looking sad. She smiles gently and says, rough night, sir? He gives a tired smile and replies, you could say that. I think I'm better at running companies than dating. She laughs softly. Maybe you just need someone who sees your heart, not your money. Her words stay with him as she walks away to serve another table. For the first time in a long while, he feels something warm inside, not pity, but peace. The next evening, he returns to the restaurant. She looks surprised. He says quietly, I just wanted to thank you. Last night, you reminded me what kindness really feels like. Before she can answer, her little boy runs to her holding a small toy dinosaur. The CEO kneels down and smiles at the child. That's a cool dinosaur, little man. The boy giggles and the mother smiles softly. For a moment, everything feels calm, real, and beautiful. Sometimes the wrong night leads you to the right people. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Kindness. The next morning, the single mom wakes up early, preparing breakfast for her little boy before heading to her second job. Her small apartment is quiet but filled with warmth, a few old toys, a photo frame of her and her son, and a calendar full of bills and reminders, and she ties her hair and picks up her worn-out bag. Her son holds her hand and says softly, Mommy, will that kind man come again? She smiles sadly. I don't think so, sweetheart. People like him. They live in a different world. But she didn't know at that very moment. The CEO was sitting in his office, unable to focus on anything else. The way she had spoken to him, the kindness in her eyes, it had shaken something deep inside. For years, he'd lived surrounded by power and people who wanted something from him. But that woman, she hadn't wanted anything. She had given something instead. Peace. He looked at the file on his desk, a plan to buy out the very restaurant she worked at. He paused. For once, it wasn't about business. That evening, he returned again. She was cleaning tables, tired but still smiling. He walked up and said gently, I'm sorry if this seems strange, but I couldn't stop thinking about what you said the other night. She froze, surprised. Sir, I didn't mean anything special. He smiled softly. That's the thing. You meant it without meaning to. Rare. Her little boy ran toward them again, holding a small paper flower he had made. He handed it to the CEO shyly. The CEO knelt down and took it carefully like it was something precious. Thank you. Thank you. I'll keep it forever. The mother blinked fast, her eyes moist. She hadn't seen anyone look at her child like that in years, not with pity, but with love. The CEO stood up and said quietly, You don't know me, but you changed something in me. I don't feel empty anymore. She didn't know how to answer. She just smiled, a simple, grateful smile, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel invisible. Sometimes two lonely hearts don't plan to meet, but destiny plans it for them. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Kindness. A few days passed. The CEO found himself visiting this same small restaurant again and again, not for business meetings, not for the food, but for something far more genuine. Every time he walked in, the single mom would smile politely, trying to hide her surprise. She couldn't understand why someone so powerful, so successful, would keep coming back to a simple place like theirs. One night, it was snowing outside. The restaurant was almost empty. She was wiping tables, exhausted after a long day. Her manager had scolded her earlier for dropping a tray, and her hands were shaking from fatigue. Suddenly, she heard a familiar voice. CEO. Rough night again? She turned and saw him standing there holding 2 cups of coffee. One for her, one for himself. She hesitated. You really shouldn't. He interrupted softly. A person who deserves a little kindness. That's all. She slowly sat down across from him, their coffees steaming between them. For a moment, neither spoke. The snow fell silently outside, painting the window in white. CEO, for years I thought success meant being surrounded by people, but somehow I've never felt lonelier than when I'm sitting in my office, alone with my achievements. She looked at him with gentle eyes, and he smiled faintly. Now, sitting here, I don't feel lonely anymore. Her eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. It's strange, she whispered. I used to think love and kindness were luxuries poor people couldn't afford. But maybe they're the only things that really matter. At that moment, her little boy ran from the back holding a small drawing. Mommy, look. Drew us. The CEO leaned in to see. The paper showed 3 stick figures, the boy, his mom, and a tall man beside them holding hands. The CEO froze, his throat tightening. CEO softly, that's beautiful. The little boy smiled proudly. That's you, mister. The mother's eyes widened, embarrassed, but the CEO's smile deepened. He reached out and gently placed his hand over hers. CEO, maybe he sees something we don't yet. A tear slipped down her cheek. Maybe he does. The snow outside glowed under the warm lights as laughter and silence mixed in a moment that felt eternal. 2 souls broken in different ways. began to find their missing pieces in each other. Narrator softly. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with flowers or promises. It arrives quietly, through a cup of coffee, a child's drawing, and the courage to care again. It had been a week since that snowy evening. The CEO had started helping quietly, not with money, but with small acts of care. He'd bring her coffee before her shift began, fix the flickering restaurant lights himself, and sometimes wait outside to make sure she and her little boy got home safely. But that night, something was different. The city was glowing with Christmas lights. The restaurant was closing early. The mom stood at the counter, counting her tips, trying not to cry. Her rent was due in 2 days, and she was short again. Her little boy sat in the corner, drawing with a broken crayon. The CEO entered quietly, snowflakes clinging to his black coat. She looked up, forcing a smile. "Mom, you're here again? Mr. Davis, don't you ever get tired of this place?" CEO smiling softly. "Not when it feels more like home than my own mansion." She laughed weakly, shaking her head. "You really shouldn't say things like that. People might think." He stepped closer, his voice gentle but firm. "Let them think. I stopped living for people a long time ago." For a moment, silence filled the room, heavy but tender. Her little boy ran up, tugging his sleeve. "Mister, will you come to my school show tomorrow? I'm gonna sing." The CEO looked down surprised, then smiled. "I'd be honored." The mom looked away, wiping her eyes quickly. "He doesn't understand who you are." "You're just kind?" "CEO, that's all I want to be to both of you." She froze. Her eyes met his, searching for something real, and for the first time, she saw no pity, no distance, just truth. He took a small envelope from his coat and placed it on the counter. Before you say anything, it's not charity. It's an opportunity. I'm opening a new cafe. I need someone who understands people, not just business. I thought of you." Her hands trembled. "Me? But I'm just a waitress." He interrupted softly. "No, you're a woman who's never given up. You're stronger than anyone I know." Her voice cracked. "Why are you doing this for me?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Because the night I met you, I saw something money couldn't buy. Kindness. You helped me when you didn't even know who I was. Now let me help you." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She whispered, You have no idea what this means to us." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I do." Her little boy ran between them, hugging both tightly. Snow fell outside, soft and endless, wrapping the moment in pure silence. Narrator emotional tone. That night, 3 lives changed forever. A man who found meaning, a woman who found hope, and a child who found family. Sometimes love doesn't happen in grand gestures. It begins quietly, with gratitude, kindness, and a second chance. Music fades in softly, emotional piano and snow visuals. A few months passed. The cafe the CEO had dreamed of was now open, not in a shining city tower, but on a quiet street where laughter, warmth, and the smell of fresh coffee filled the air every morning. And behind the counter stood the woman who once served tables just to survive. Now, she managed the entire place with pride in her eyes and peace in her heart. Her little boy had his own small corner where his drawings hung on the wall. One of them showed 3 people holding hands, Mom, me, and Mr. Davis. The customers always smiled when they saw it, not knowing the story behind those stick figures. That morning, the cafe was unusually busy. She was arranging cups when she looked up and froze. Standing at the door was Mr. Davis, the CEO, holding a small box and wearing a nervous smile. Mom surprised. "You're here early today." CEO softly. "I couldn't wait any longer." He walked up to her, eyes gentle but full of emotion. "CEO, do you remember the night? He told me love and kindness are the only things that really matter." She nodded slowly, heart beating fast. "CEO, you were right. And that night I found both in you." Her eyes glistened. "Mr. Davis." He smiled faintly. "Please, just call me Daniel." He opened the box, not with diamonds or gold, but with 2 silver keys. "Daniel, one is for the cafe because it's ours now. The other is for a small house nearby. It's not big, but it has a garden. I thought maybe your boy could have a place to play." Her breath caught. She shook her head, tears spilling freely. "Daniel, I can't accept this." He stepped closer, his voice trembling. "You already did. The day you showed me kindness when I didn't deserve it. You gave me something I'd been missing all my life. A reason to come home." Her son, hearing their voices, ran up and tugged Daniel's sleeve. "Are you going away, mister?" Daniel knelt down, looking into the boy's bright eyes. "No, buddy. I was hoping..." He'd let me stay. The boy threw his arms around him. "You can stay forever." The mother couldn't hold back her tears anymore. Daniel stood up and reached for her hand gently, his voice breaking. "Daniel, I don't want to be the man who's admired by thousands. I want to be the man who's loved by 2. Her lips trembled. "And you already are." Snow began to fall outside again, soft, glowing, endless, as the 3 stood together in the cafe, wrapped not by wealth or promises, but by love that grew quietly, patiently, and truly. Narrator with emotion. He walked into her life by accident and walked out with a family. She saved him from a bad date and ended up saving his heart. And a little boy with his paper drawings and innocent smile reminded them both what love really looks like. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can change the course of an entire life. Narrator final words. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Kindness.